how people consider areas sacred. Yeah, whether it's to their religious um, event or something, and then people talk about it. You read about it. Yeah, and if you go there, you say, "Oh yeah, I feel something," but really, it's nothing. You're having preconceived notions that developed in you, even to the subconscious level, from reading about it, from from talking about it, so forth. But there are exceptions. Sometimes people walk through an area and they suddenly get sick. They don't know why. Every time they go through this area, they get sick. They don't know why. Then, if they get the nerves, they check the history of the area, and then maybe they learn there was a massacre there or something really bad happened there. And what got left behind was some kind of energy from that event. And that's what this person was feeling. They couldn't understand it until they found out what happened. And now they're feeling it. And that's what happens in events like that, really tragic events. There's always the energy that gets left behind from that incident. And that it's always going to be like that until a holy person can neutralize that energy. You don't destroy it. Energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be neutralized. Yeah, it's like converting it into something else. So there's no good versus evil. Yeah, when you neutralize something, it's you're not destroying it. You can't. It's always there, but you can influence it to become something else. Hence, neutralization. But what I always uh, or I should say, what kind of gets me sometimes is when people say, "Oh, this is a sacred site. Walk softly." Yeah, this is a sacred site. Excuse me. And I think um, if you say that, then you should know the history. Why is it a sacred site? Yeah, and so if you don't know the story, then you need to find out. Yeah, you have to find people who know, or go to the library, or get on the internet, because I think most people use the internet instead of the library. So I don't know though. So the whole point is to um, do the research, check out the area, everything that you can think of. Talk to people about it too, because they might suggest other things too that you didn't even consider. And then you see better. Yeah, then you understand. But most people don't do that. Yeah, most people just go by word of mouth. Some guy, maybe there's a guy 20 something years old and he has a nephew who's only 4 years old, and the let's say the 22-year-old guy is smoking cigarettes at a trash um, dumpster. So this boy comes, 4-year-old boy, wants to talk to his uncle. You, yeah, let's say you're the uncle. And then you say to the boy, hey, 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 wait, hey, don't walk there. This is a sacred area. And don't run. You're not supposed to run through sacred areas. But he never tells you why. But that sticks in your mind. And so you just grow up like that then, you say, oh yeah, that's a sacred site, but you don't really know why. Maybe you might know a few things, but most time people don't really know the full explanation, the full story. I'll give you an example. There is a place in the center of the Black Hills in South Dakota called Preshla. This is like the Black Hills is like kind of like small mountains and lots of trees, pine trees and stuff like that. But in the middle of the Black Hills, there's a high prairie. There's no trees that grow there, and and so it's like the top of somebody's head, yeah, like like they cut the hair off. Yeah? There's no hair growing on there. Hence, Preshla. What that means, yeah. Pre is short for praying, which means hair, yeah. So Preshla is like somebody cut off a chunk of hair from the top of the head, bald headed, yeah. So that's where it gets the name. So there's a lot of Lakota people that say, "Yeah, this is a sacred area." Ask them, why is it sacred? Well, most of the time people will say, well, it's because we've been doing ceremonies there as ever since time immemorial. And I heard that lawyer from Standing Rock say that, yeah, this Chase Iron Eyes. That's what he said on the video. And yeah, the Lakota people have been doing ceremonies here since time immemorial, he said. And I said, bullshit. It's not true. For one thing, the white buffalo calf pipe is not even 600 years old. The current keeper of this pipe is named Orville Looking Horse, and he likes to say he's the 19th generation keeper of the pipe. If you do the math, it's not even 600 years. That's not ancient. That is not time immemorial. And Lakota, there's many ceremonies in our culture, but there are seven that people kind of focus on more so than others. Um, and the fact is, we got four of those ceremonies before. Oh, no, no, no. It goes the other way. We got four of those ceremonies after we got the pipe. So that means four of the ceremonies are not even 600 years old. So, no, this Chase Iron Eyes is wrong. We didn't do ceremonies there since time immemorial. That's wrong. Yeah, he doesn't. He's a lawyer, but when it comes to Lakota spirituality, he's he's not that knowledgeable. First ceremony that Lakota people got. What do you think it is? Well, in some versions of the creation story, it's Inipi. In other versions of the creation story, it's Humblexia. Yeah, it depends which version you look at, because there's more than one version. That's how our way is. It's not dogmatic. Yeah, we are not a dogmatic people. So there are different versions of stories. And one version says Inipi, the sweat lodge, was the first ceremony. Another one says it's Humblexia. It doesn't matter which one it is. Yeah. So sometimes people like to say that when the white buffalo calf pipe lady, when the white buffalo calf woman came to the Itazipco Lakota people, they like to say that she came to see them in the Black Hills and at this Preshla, and this is where she gave them the pipe, and then she taught them how to use it and stuff like that, and that she also taught um, the people the seven ceremonies, and that is bullshit. That is total bullshit. It didn't happen there. It happened in Itazipco country. Ancient Itazipco country is somewhere in Montana. Yeah, it's somewhere in Montana, eastern Montana is Itazipco territory. And when she came, remember what I said? After we got the pipe, um, or when we got the pipe, I said that four ceremonies came after that. They didn't come with her. They came after she left. That means when she arrived, that the Lakota people had three already. So she didn't bring any ceremonies, and she did not bring the pipe in the Black Hills. She brought it to Itazipco Lakota people because at that time they were going through a really horrible time, and they were facing starvation, maybe even extinction. Yeah, they were going through a really difficult time. And then this woman came, brought us the pipe. This is my mother's side of the family. They're Itazipco Lakota. So if you hear somebody say that the White Buffalo Calf Lady brought the pipe to the Lakota people in the Black Hills and where she also taught them the seven sacred ceremonies, that's a lie. That's not true at all. Absolutely not. It didn't happen like that. That's not the reason why Cheshla is sacred. There are two reasons. One of them is see, before humans come on the earth, they were living under the ground. And in the Lakota Star Knowledge version, okay, of the story, says that humans were living under the ground, and some wanted to come up to the surface, and the leader of the people said, "No, it's not time." He said, "We are going to go to the surface, but it's not time." But this other person said, "Well, you're too old-fashioned, and you're just an old man, so I'm gonna, take whoever wants to come with me. We're gonna go to the surface." So those were rebellious young people that did that. Yeah, they disobeyed their elders, and they went up to the surface of the earth, and then they were tricked by Iktomi, the trickster, because see, there's several things that are happening at this time in this story. Yeah, One incident is like what I'm just now saying, where these people under the ground, they want to come up to the surface of the earth, but the old people are saying no, it's not time yet, and the young people rebel anyway. Yeah, like I said, when that is happening, there's another thing that's happening on the earth, and it's where Iktomi the trickster is. He People don't like him. Yeah, they don't want him around because he likes to trick people, and sometimes they're funny, but sometimes they're vicious. Well, he tricked this first group of people from under the earth. Yeah, he tricked them to come to the surface of the earth. He made it look like it's really easy to live on the earth. Now, these people under the earth, they're not human, okay? They're not human, they're not animal, it's something different. But when they come on the surface of the earth, they become human. Ikche oyate, they're called. They're not called Lakota. That word didn't exist yet. They were called Ikche oyate, the common people. The people who have things in common. We all need earth, wind, fire, and water to live, and we all bleed red. So the most important foundation. So, Iktomi is, like I said, he's baiting. Yeah, he's playing. He's like putting out a trap for the humans as they come out of the surface of the onto the surface of the earth. I mean, he's 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 gonna trick them. Now, just before the humans came on the earth, he was talking to some wolves. There were some wolves that were really having a hard time because they couldn't catch any food to eat, and their little ones were starving. They were going to die pretty soon. So Iktomi said to the wolves, he said, "I can bring you a food that's really good to eat for you, and eat when you eat it, when you put it in your mouth, it feels so good that you can't stop and you want more and more and more and more. That's how good the meat is," he said. And at first, the wolves did not want to make this agreement because they know Iktomi tricks. He tricks people. Well, they were facing extinction. The wolves were facing extinction. And they decided, okay, we'll make this pact with Iktomi. So they did. And so Iktomi said, "I will live up to my promise to you," he said. He told them to go to this area in the Black Hills, this Preshla. He told the wolves to go there and sit in the trees. He said, "I'm going to bring your food into the prairie. I mean, in the open area of these hills." And when he gives the signal, then the wolves can come out and have their feast. That's how Iktomi said it. Yeah. So that's the second part of the story that's happening at the same time as this group of people coming from under the earth. They're called Pte Oyate. Now, some people think that means Buffalo Nation. No, it doesn't. Ptechchaka is buffalo. If you want to say Buffalo Nation, then you say Ptechchaka Oyate. But when you just say Pte Oyate, this is something else. Yeah, these are they're human in form, but they're not human. Yeah, that's what these people were that wanted to come on the surface of the earth. They were Pte Oyate. And when they came through a cave in the Black Hills that today is called Wind Cave because it always sounds like there's people there. Yeah, like the wind. Yeah, lots of people. So when they came through the cave entrance, their bodies changed. Now they're hungry. Yeah, do you see what I mean? They're becoming human, and uh, and then Iktomi told his group, these first humans, he said, "Come with me." He said, "I have a feast prepared for you. Come join me in my feast." He said. So they said, "Okay," because they're really in the bad shape. And then eventually they figure it out, yeah, that something's not right. But Iktomi continues and he says to these humans, "Come with me," he says. "Come with me. I have a feast prepared for you." So they think he means a fest, yeah, a celebration. And so everybody's in a good mood, in a jovial mood, and not paying attention to what's happening in the world. So Iktomi tells these humans, he says, "Come with me. I have a feast prepared for you." And these people think that they're going to a feast, yeah. And Iktomi says, "Follow me," he says, as these people are coming out of the cave, this wind cave. Iktomi says, "Follow me. I have a feast prepared for you." So they all think they're going to eat something. Then he leads them to this preshla, and then suddenly he's gone. And so the people are in this preshla, which is like a prairie. It's wide open. They're just sitting there. There's thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of these people. They don't know what's going on. And so then Iktomi goes back to that cave where those people came from and he closes it up and he hides it. So if they, try to go back, they won't be able to. Then he gives the signal to the wolves. "There is your feast," he says to the wolves. So these humans, they thought they were going to a feast, and all that time, they are the feast. Yeah. So this is so Iktomi kept his promise to the wolves. So ever since that time, the wolves and Iktomi are allies, and almost all the humans were killed by these wolves. And when they were drinking the human blood, it tasted so good that they went crazy. They went into a frenzy. So just think, in a matter of minutes, there's thousands of these humans that are being killed and eaten, and in some cases eaten while they're still alive by all these wolves. Well, under the earth, the older Pte Oyate, their leader was a wise man, and he knew something was wrong, yeah, with their first group that went. So he said, "We have to go save them." And so they went through that same way. And when they came out on the earth, they turned into buffalo, and they smashed that rock that Iktomi put there to block that entrance. And then they just followed the smell, and and they saw all these wolves eating these humans. And so the buffalo people charged into the wolves and started killing off the wolves next. This happened in a very short time. Lots of people died in that area, and a lot of wolves died in that area too. That leaves behind a residue. This is why the area is considered sacred. And you're not supposed to do ceremonies there. There's only one ceremony that can be conducted in this Preshla, and it's the ceremony that happens on, I think, around April, and it's calling back the wingeds that flew south. It's calling back the bears. Who are hibernating. Yeah, it's calling back the flowers. It's you know because it's summertime. It's gonna be summertime soon. Only ceremony that they conducted in Preshla at that time. So when that Chase Iron Eyes says that the Lakota people were doing ceremonies there since time immemorial, he's not telling the truth. That's not correct. Yeah? So it shows you, again, that a lot of young people, young Lakota people, they'll say, yeah, this is a sacred site. And then you ask them why, like I said before, they don't really know why. They just give you a story that is not even what's the word, credible. It's they have a flimsy excuse. That's one of the reasons why Preshla is people are not supposed to be there, because in this short amount of time, all, all, the first group of humans that came out from that cave, almost all of them were killed in just a matter of a few minutes. That's how many wolves that were there surrounding that area. And it happened really fast. Yeah, there's a frenzy. They would drink the human blood and they would go crazy, start howling and wanting more and more. It's like a drug to them. Human blood is like a drug to them. So when this happens, see, this 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 is an energy is coming out from the wolves because of what they're doing, how they're massacring the humans, and that weird energy goes into their fur. This is why it's dangerous for little children to touch the fur that comes from a wolf, because it has that weird energy from this time period, which is thousands and thousands of years ago, but it stays in the DNA in their hair. Yeah, so it's a Lakota custom that children are not supposed to touch wolf fur, but sometimes women see they don't, they when they become pregnant, they don't want the baby inside of them to get sick, so they don't touch the wolf fur either. And sometimes you don't really know you're pregnant for a few weeks. So they made the rule that no women in childbearing years should be touching wolf fur, because she may not know she's pregnant. And if she touches a wolf fur, even if it's just a couple days after she conceived, even though this thing is really really minuscule, it still could damage it. The weird energy from the wolf fur could still damage this unborn embryo. You see what I mean? That was the old custom. So this was a deadly thing that happened. Yeah, it was a deadly thing that happened in this area. So when they say it's sacred, you're not supposed to do anything in there. You're not even supposed to live there. But there's one ceremony that can be done there, and that's one ceremony happens only once, and it's in April. Yeah. So they didn't. Lakota people did not do Inipi there. They didn't do Sundance there. That didn't happen there. Sundance happened at a place called Devil's Tower. Of course, that's not our name for it. Our name is Matotipila, the Lodge of the Bear. That's where the Sundance took place. It didn't happen in Tresla. So that's the thing. Yeah, that's why it's a sacred site. It's dangerous. There's a weird energy that's still there from this massacre that happened. Now, um, like I said, the second group, that was the remaining group of this Pte Oyate that lived under the ground. When they came out, remember, Iktomi blocked that cave with a big rock. So when they came out, they turned into buffalo and they broke that rock to pieces. And so when they when they came out of that cave, they could smell what's happening. So they ran to Preshla and saw the wolves killing their relatives, the humans. Then they charged into the wolves and started annihilating the wolves. Then the wolves started to die in big numbers too. And they knew they were going to get all wiped out if they didn't leave, so they ran away. To save themselves, they ran away. And this is how the buffalo saved the humans. And the story shows you that we come from the same foundation, which is Pte Oyate. So that's why we consider buffalo our closest relatives. So you have all these new agers that really idolize a wolf and use they wear t-shirts and they have a wolf there and a lightning and a feather and an eagle and the stars and they think it's really cool. They don't realize that in the Lakota way, the wolf is a representation of duality, which is something I'll explain a little bit later. It's an oppression. It's an oppressive way. The symbol for Lakota people is the buffalo. It's not the wolf. It's the buffalo. We get everything from the buffalo. Even our family unit called Tioshpaye, it's an extended family. The first humans, they were watching the buffalo and they saw how they organized, and the humans thought, hey, that's pretty good. So they did the same thing. And we get everything from the buffalo: our homes, our clothes, our tools, everything, even toys for children from the bones. So when we hunt for buffalo, we only take what we need. And we don't chase them over a mountain like some tribes do. Yeah? Because our teaching says we have to use every part of the buffalo that we can. And the tribes that chase buffalo over a cliff, see the first buffalo that hit the rocks on the bottom, they're so smashed up you can't even use anything. So that's like murder. Yeah, it's just that buffalo's laying there, still barely alive, suffering on the rocks, broken bones, bleeding to death, and those Indians just let it die like that, and they just take the good ones. That's not the Lakota way. So that shows you, see, not all Indians are the same. In the Lakota way, the hunt is difficult, and you only take what you need. And whatever you take, it's for the people. It's not for you. It's not for your family. It's for everybody. Because we're a community thinking society. And before they hunt, they'd make a vow. Yeah, that this is what they promise, that that they will use it for the people, and that they will use as much of the animal as possible, that they'll only take what they need. That's what they say. Then when they get their buffalo from a hunt, then they give thanks, and then they apologize, and they say we're going to give something back to the buffalo people. Lakota people don't just take; they give back too, because it's a hard thing. Buffalo people lost a relative. It's sad, but it's life for us. So we give something back to the buffalo people. We honor them. See? So that's how that was. Yeah, that's how that all got started. All that Treshla in the Black Hills. So that's one reason why that area is sacred. The second reason is that long time ago there were two Lakota women sitting on a hill just outside the village, so it was safe. They were looking at the stars, and they thought, "Wow, that's a nice one. Oh, that's a pretty one." Two young women, yeah. And here, a light was moving in the sky, and so they were watching. They said, "Look." First, they thought it was maybe it's a falling star, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was coming. It's getting bigger, and then not too far away, they saw it touch the ground, and it was just standing there. So they were like, "What is that? Let's go check it out." Yeah, so they went close to it, and here they saw some people getting out of this light, and so they were watching them, and they looked like us. Yeah, they looked human, and they were saying, "Well, he's kind of a nice looking man," and one of them was sitting on a tree branch, and here that tree branch broke. Yeah, so they they fell to the ground. Well, these men heard that, so they went to investigate, and they saw these two women laying on the ground, holding their heads because they hit the ground kind of hard. And the men kind of laughed, and they said, "What's your name? Yeah, who are you?" So they said their name, and then the men said their name, and then they said, the girl said, "Did you come from the sky?" And the guy said, "Yeah, we came from way over there, another light up there." And the men said, "Do you wanna see? We can take you there, and then we can bring you back again." And the girl said, "Yeah." So they went with these men, and they got into this light, and then they took off, and they went someplace else. And when one, oh, they went up there, and it was really nice. Yeah, this other world, it was really nice. Some things this looked different, but basically it was nice. And these they fell in love with two guys up there, and they asked them, these girls, "Do you want to go home?" And they said no, they wanted to be with their new men. So they said, "Okay, well, you can stay here." And so they started to live together, and one couple turned out to be really nice, and the woman got pregnant for this guy, and she had children. And then the other woman, she just had gotten pregnant. Yeah, she started to show, and but then her man started to treat her mean. So she decided to find a way to escape, and she did. Yeah. The story says that there's a vegetable up there that looks like a timsila from down here. That's a turnip, a wild one. Yeah, they have really long uh, tops. Yeah, and So today in Lakota country, when people go digging for these turnips, and then they tie them together, yeah, at the top. And when you see a bunch of them, it looks like a rope, yeah, looks like a big rope. Team Sila rope. Anyway, so found something like that up there. She started to tie them together for many, 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 many days, and then one time, when she was digging, um, she the hole was it went really far, and she saw her home, and she said she thought she wants to go back. So she decided to, make a really, really long rope from this and climb down and get back to, you know, her her home where she comes from. It's a bunch of kids outside. It's really late in the evening. It must be a church group. Yeah. I got a kindergarten class. And oh gosh. Anyway, so she was starting, to climb down and to get um, back to, her people, and she was getting close. Yeah, she was getting really close, and then her husband found out that she was she left. Yeah, so he started to pull this rope up, and she didn't want to go back, so she let go, and she fell. Yeah, she fell to the earth, and where she landed was in Peshla, and she landed, and soon after she gave birth to a little boy. And there was an old couple that saw this, so they went over there, and the girl asked them, "Can you please take care of my baby?" She said, "I'm not gonna make it," because she was bleeding really bad. So they said, "Yes, we'll take care of grandson." They were the old couple, yeah. They called him grandson already. Hakoja. So they got him, and they did prayers for her, and put her, you know, took her to a river, because in the Lakota way, that's how they do that. Yeah, they go to a river, and you find a hillside, and then you dig a hole in there in the hillside, and then you put the body in there by the river. There's a reason why, but I'm not going to say. Okay, that's a sacred, sacred thing. Lila waka hechayelo. Yeah. So I'm not going to say that. Okay. Now you're really wondering. But let's finish this story first, okay? Anyway, so the old couple raised this boy, yeah, and he became known as Wichachpihpaya. That means falling star. He came when him and his mother came back. It was like a falling star. So that's why they called him that. So this is where she landed in Presla. Now these two girls, yeah, they come from the Sicangu Lakota people. Today, their descendants are on Rosebud Sioux Reservation and Lower Brule Sioux Reservation, and this is where my dad's from. Yeah, so we're descendants from this lady that came back. So that means, remember, this boy, his father's from that other world. So that means among the Sicangu people is blood from another world. Isn't that interesting? And remember, one girl stayed up there because her marriage was good. and she had children for that guy. That means there's Lakota people out there. Isn't that interesting? Many years later, a group of them is going to come back to the earth. Um, they're going to make like a visit. And from this story comes the sun dance. But I usually tell that on summer solstice, okay? So next month I'll tell that story. And not tonight, okay? That's another one. So, anyway, that's an interesting fact, though. Yeah, this is a very old story. And these stories, they always start with a truth. Yeah. So these stories are called ehani. That's Lakota star knowledge. Yeah, ehani stories. More recent stories like how we got the white buffalo calf pipe. Yeah, those are ohunkankong. Those are recent. Yeah, within the past couple thousand years. But ehani is like from the beginning of the earth until maybe 2,000 years ago. That's ehani. A long time ago. That's how they start. Yeah. When they say the stories, the star knowledge stories. So this is the reason why Preshla is sacred. I gave you two reasons. And this is why Lakota people were instructed to not live in Preshla. And that only one ceremony can be done there. And that happens in April. And that's when they call back the flowers, the birds, to wake up the bears, things like that. That ceremony is for that purpose only, and that's only once a year. So they didn't do sun dances there. They did not do sweat lodge ceremonies there. They didn't do that. So what Chase Iron Eyes said was false. They did not do ceremonies there since time immemorial. That's false. But I gave you two really huge reasons why this area is considered sacred. And most Lakota people don't even know this, what I just said to you. And when most Lakota people hear what I just said, they don't believe me. Yeah, just look at this Chase Iron Eyes. This guy's a lawyer, went to law school, but he doesn't know the real stories. That's how most Lakota people are. They don't know the full story. And why is that? Why do they not know the full version? I'll explain that later, okay? There is a reason why most Lakota people don't know these stories anymore. There's a reason for that. It's not a good reason either, though. There's no justification for it. I think the thing to do is learn them, yeah, to learn the stories. But most Lakota people find it really hard to believe. But it is there. I'm not the only one that knows this. Yeah, there's several others that know the same information that I do. It's really ancient information. But again, this is the reason why Preshla is sacred. So you're not supposed to build a town there. You're not supposed to build hotels and shopping centers and yeah, that's this is a very special area for the Lakota people. So anywho, I just wanted that's what that reminded me of. Yeah, these when people talk about sacred sites and I think you have to be careful with that though. Yeah, you have to be careful with that because The whole earth is sacred. The earth is our mother. How can we say just her nose is special? So when people say, "Oh, this is a sacred site," and then they think that it's a better than the rest of the area, that's like looking at your own body and you're saying, "Okay, my right hand is not good, but my left hand is really nice, so that's the sacred hand, and everything else doesn't count." You see how foolish that sounds? Well, now apply that to the earth. Yeah? So we shouldn't be saying things like wasteland and things like that because really the whole earth is sacred. That means everything is sacred. That's why I don't like to just focus on, certain locations and then how people will say, okay, that happens, so that makes that more special than the other parts. That's not the Lakota way of thinking. In the Lakota way of thinking, everything is sacred, even on your body. Your nose is is very special. Your toes, there's a purpose for them. Your eyes, your ears, your legs, your arms, your hands, your feet, your fingers, everything is important on you. It's not just one piece of land. It's not just one part of your body. It's everything. So this is why people like I said, when they take animals for food, they make an apology, they make a vow, and the same thing for vegetables, yeah, corn and wild rice and wild onions and timsila, and, things like that. They do the same thing concerning those wild vegetables too. They make a prayer to them, and because they're people, yeah, they're life. They are people too. It's just that they communicate in different ways. So when we take one for food, we give something back, just like when we hunt for buffalo. We give something back to the plant nations. See how that works? I hope so. So anyway, that's I think we have to be careful, when we're talking about sacred sites that just because this happened there, that that we have today's modern people, they have the tendency to think that the word sacred makes something better than the rest of the area, and that's not the Lakota way. In the Lakota way, everything is sacred. Everyone is sacred. It's how we live our lives that can change that or nurture that. So I'll let that gel for a while, and I need to take a drink now, so maybe I'll take a music break. But I just want to say one more final thing about this the sacred sites thing is that when people consider a certain landscape better than others, then that's linear thinking, and I'll explain that. Okay, but that's not a healthy way to be. So I'm always careful about that, and I want to make mention of that. When I say Preshla is sacred, I do not mean it's better. I don't mean that at all. I'm just saying the reason why is because of these two events that happened there. One was quite tragic, and the other one was also quite tragic. So just be careful, yeah, when you're talking about a sacred site, that don't elevate it above the rest of the earth, because that's like taking one of your eyes out and saying, okay, this is the best one. My other eye is not that good, so I just leave it in my the eye socket. Why would you do that? Yeah? Why would you do something like that to yourself? Of course you would not do that because you're sane. So apply that to the earth too. Yeah? Every part of the earth is sacred. Every part. So that's the way the cookie crumbles.